Coming up, a new hospital is ready for patients.
Student government speaks for the trees this Arbor Day.
Get ready to grab your umbrellas. All of the full forecast and weather.
Good morning from Iowa City. It is Monday, April 28th. I'm Karch Smith.
And I'm Annika Perez. And you know, Karch, I have been loving the weather recently. I've been going outside, taking walks, and I really hope it keeps up.
Yeah, I do too, but I'm not sure we'll get as lucky. Jake Rios is with us with more.
Well, you know, guys, I really hate to rain on your parade, but there is going to be a lot of rain later this week. As we all know, Iowa weather is very unpredictable. And tonight we might even see severe thunderstorms as it'll reach about 83 and humid. Tonight, the low is looking to be around 60, and again, we are under severe thunderstorm watch. Tomorrow looks to be a nice mid-60s and cloudy. Make sure to stay safe and bring an umbrella as we might see potential hail and storms throughout the day. For now, I'll send it over back to you guys at the desk.
A new hospital has officially opened its doors.
That's why we have DITV's Ryan Lynch live in North Liberty for the hospital's grand opening.
Yeah, guys, the University of Iowa Healthcare has opened a brand new campus. The new hospital will be home to the Department of Orthopedics and Rehabilitation and UI Sports Medicine. It's looking to expand access to healthcare in the area with 36 new inpatient beds, 12 operating rooms, and 84 clinic exam rooms. The new location is huge, reaching over 469,000 square feet on top of 60 acres. The hospital has been in the works since 2021 and was budgeted at over $525 million. And with the hospital opening today, UIHC is hopeful that this will create more room at their other locations. Back to you guys in the studio.
Thanks, Ryan. Now we're going to send it over to DITV's Hannah Lipsky, who's live in the Ped Mall with an inside scoop on a certain nightlife perspective.
Hannah had an exciting bar crawl experience Saturday night, except you weren't crawling, right, Hannah?
That's right, Annika. I'm live at the Ped Mall, and where it's, you know, kind of quiet and calm this morning, but there were some people walking to class, and Saturday night it actually told a completely different story here, and I had an interesting perspective on it. Just letting you know. With Officer Garrett Blair and the ICPD on the night of a bar crawl.
61, checking your status.
First stop was bar checks. We started at Roxy's, and I learned how they spot underage drinkers and write tickets. Then we moved to Brothers, and it was packed. Walking in was enough to make people clear out of the way and either go further in or walk out of the bar.
I can't catch them all. I'm not going to get worked up about it, but that's generally how that works.
I watched Officer Blair check IDs and see someone get escorted out. We walked around for a bit, and then the officers got a call.
So right now, there's a fight going on in DC's, and we're walking there, and we're gonna just see what happens when the cops are called to a bar.
But by the time we got there, other officers had already responded, and I was surprised at just how quick the response time was, especially to the bars. Then we got back into the car, and this is where it got exciting. Officer Blair responded to a call about a fight at Airliner. Security quickly came out and waved him down to point out the person and give him the rundown. He arrested the man and put him in the car while other officers helped him with witness statements and figuring out charges. I came with to the Johnson County Jail, and I could not believe some of the things I was hearing from the back of the car.
And then like all this, the stuff he was saying, like that's normal. People just say that stuff to you all the time.
Like the name calling.
Yeah.
Oh yes, yes. That wasn't really that bad.
Really?
Like, yeah. So you have to get used to just kind of focusing on your paperwork, and that's why I told him, like, I'm not going to talk to you about this. And
at every bar we went to, the staff were more than willing to help and come right up to the police. I didn't realize just how many calls are made to the bars on a weekend. I also asked Officer Blair why he wanted to join the force.
I enjoy it. So I genuinely, you can help people in this job. And, I enjoy that. I get a lot of self-gratitude out of doing that.
I thoroughly enjoyed this experience. It was so fun and eye-opening at the same time, and the officers were excited to bring me along and kind of show people what they do on a night out here. And they expressed to me that they are not trying to ruin people's nights, but keep Iowa City safe. I was actually invited back to do this again, so maybe we'll see what it's like after a football Saturday in the fall. Back to you guys in the studio.
The Johnson County Attorney's Office is filing charges against a Scott County business. The Hawkeye Waste System has been charged with failure to maintain workers' compensation insurance after an employee death. Matthew Rosewalt died from injuries sustained during a workplace accident in November 2024. An investigation revealed that the company did not have workers' comp insurance as required by law. A court date is scheduled for May 19th.
Governor Kim Reynolds had 8 bills passed across her desk this past week in Des Moines.
That's right, Annika, and that's why we have DITV's Cole Krieger in the newsroom with an update on what bills were signed into law.
Thanks, guys. As always, lots going on in Des Moines this past week, but let's start with a new law that relates to the purchasing of alcoholic beverages. This new bill changes license authorization, bond requirements, and fee determinations. License authorization is now issued to individuals who are of, quote, good moral character. The holder of the license will be authorized to sell beer and wine to patrons with some updated rules regarding consumption in bars and restaurants. Customers are no longer required to carry open containers when hopping from bar to bar. Now, another bill that was passed on Friday will change the requirements needed to become a public school board member. This law removes the requirement that the individual must be from a geographical area of the charter school to serve on the board. It also removes the requirement that the person involved must be a resident of Iowa. And now, staying over in Des Moines, Governor Kim Reynolds is suing a Des Moines-based newspaper. Governor Reynolds is suing the Des Moines Register to protect emails that she claims are protected by executive privilege due to her role as governor. The Register requested to see records from her office and were granted access, but 4 emails were withheld. Iowa Attorney General Brenna Bird has asked the courts to stop the Register from pursuing the records. That was an update in the Iowa legislature and Governor Kim Reynolds. Back to you guys in the studio.
A celebration with formal attire, buzzing excitement, and a tight-knit community. DITV's Linda Lacko has a look into an unforgettable night.
To get dressed up and dance the night away as the Black Student Union hosts their annual Black Gala to spotlight Black excellence. As their theme was black ties, students of color at the University of Iowa were able to have a night for themselves in such an elegant way.
Other Black students on campus come together just to exist in a space together.
Putting together the event was a challenge as BSU wanted this night to be a night Black students will never forget. With food, music, dancing, and much more, guests enjoyed every minute of it.
How the Black community can really unite together. I think it's great to be able to have and find community and meet people that you didn't get to know before.
Have a little bit of fun and just have an awesome night and get to meet some awesome people.
Nonetheless, this event created memories for these students as well as providing an opportunity for them to dress up, show out, and spend an evening of fun and excitement of the final weeks of the school year.
And connect about all the different intricacies of navigating being a Black student at a PWI.
A tradition and a night they'll never forget as the Black Student Union hosts another successful Black Gala for the books. From the Hansard Auditorium, Linda Lacko, DITV.
The Wheelchair Basketball Committee hosted their annual fundraiser game of wheelchair basketball to raise money for the Adaptive Sports Iowa organization. Run by physical therapy students of the University of Iowa, the event had donors and sponsors in the community supporting Iowans of all physical disabilities. The committee not only
defy the odds and prove people wrong every day. So to just raise money, raise awareness for people who have incredible abilities.
The committee not only wants to raise money for the cause, but to educate people on adaptive sports as equipment for people with disabilities is expensive. The event also included raffle prizes of various gifts and t-shirts as they try to create a space for people of all disabilities to be able to play the sport that they love.
Students and community members came together to show their love and dedication for the planet this Arbor Day. DITV's Isabel Thier was at the scene for an inside look at this event.
The University of Iowa celebrated Arbor Day and Earth Month in a special way this year. Instead of planting one tree, they're planting nearly 4,000.
Behind me, you can see hundreds of volunteers gathering here to plant trees celebrating this year's Arbor Day.
This past fall, one of the sustainability classes learned about the Milwaukee method of planted trees and decided to put it into action this spring. They planted a variety of over 20 trees and shrubs to turn this dream into a reality.
Milwaukee method, it's a high dense tree planting method. So what they do is you just plant a bunch of native shrubs and trees really close together, and they'll all begin competing for nutrients and sunlight, which means the forests will mature much faster than typical.
The Office of Sustainability, undergraduate student government, and the landscaping faculty all came together for this 4-day planting event in hopes to bring people together and engage in positive environmental ways.
I think it's really good to get students in the community engaged together to work together to create more living labs, places of ecological importance.
With yard games and other things to do, this event drew a large and excited crowd. With hundreds of people registered to plant and many more showing up, this was an exciting way to celebrate Earth Month. To wrap things up on May 3rd, there'll be a celebration event to show off their hard work and promise to the planet.
Arbor Day is just one of many days dedicated to planting these small trees behind me, which will one day grow to the size of this one. From Hillcrest Residence Hall, Isabel Fear, DITV.
Well, coming up later, make sure to stick around for DITV's sports segment In the Zone, where we have updates from football's spring open practice, baseball's historic weekend, and so much more from Iowa Athletics.
Yes, Annika, there's a lot of sports going on, but with these storms coming up, I hope they'll be able to get the games in.
Yeah, I'm really nervous. That's why we have Jake Rios live in the studio to tell us more about it.
Thanks, guys. And yeah, this week will be, again, very unpredictable, just as in the 3 days. Wednesday looks to have a mid-high in the 60s and showers throughout the day. And Thursday looks to be around the same with a high in the mid-60s and rain throughout the day as well. Friday seems to be a bit nicer with a high in the 60s and seems to be dipping down to the low 40s later in the night. The weekend brightens up with Saturday seeming to be a wonderful low 70s and sunny, and Sunday being around the mid-70s and a bit cloudy. This next week seems to be a bit chaotic, so make sure to check the weather every so often so you're not stuck alone without one of these umbrellas.
Thanks, Jake. And thank you for joining us online or listening on KRUI 89.7 FM.
We are here live from Iowa City every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 8:30 a.m. and online anytime at thedailyiowan.com.
For everyone here at DITV, thank you for watching. We'll see you again on Wednesday morning right here on DITV.
And stay tuned for DITV Sports segment In the Zone coming up right after the break.
Stories occur every day, and here at DITV, we've got you covered with up-to-date news and politics.
Former President Donald Trump won the Iowa caucus.
And we are anxiously waiting for those votes for not only the national election, but here in District 1.
Keeping highlights and scores with Hawkeye Sports.
The All-American walk-on brought that punt return down this sideline and into this end zone.
Iowa looks to boost their overall placement and their way into the semis.
And of course, all the latest in entertainment.
Sit back, relax, and here's the word on the street.
I'm here at the Alan McVeigh Theater where a unique performance.
Here at DITV, we've got a crew bringing you all the stories from across the nation and right here in your backyard.
From Washington, D.C., Nashville, Tennessee.
From downtown Iowa City.
From Carver Hawkeye Arena.
And bringing all the coverage straight to you live on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday mornings. Around the University of Iowa and Iowa City community, we have the stories that matter to you here at DITV.
Coming up, Iowa baseball gets the weekend sweep.
And later, Hawkeye football is back. We have a look at Iowa's spring game.
Well, hello everyone and welcome to DITV Sports In the Zone. I'm Colin Carruthers.
And I'm Elise Ginn. We'll take a look at everything going on in Hawkeye sports.
Well, let's just first go ahead and start with Iowa baseball. They had an historic weekend as they won their 8th consecutive Big Ten series. It all started in game 1 with Cade Obermueller on the bump. He did have a slower start to this game, but he had the defense behind him. Blake Guerin, the first baseman for Iowa, diving towards the bag at first base, helping out a lot of defensive plays there, but that would pay off later with a solo home run from Daniel Rogers, tying this game at 1 apiece, and that would be all the offense Iowa would get till a little bit later. And to help that out, Brant Hogue came into relief and pushed this one to extra innings, and with runners on the corners, Blake Guerin lays down the bunt in walk-off fashion. Iowa runs away with Game 1, a 2-1 victory.
In Game 2, Jackson Frost gets the Hawkeyes on board early, a 2-run bomb to left field, an overall great offensive performance from the Hawkeyes. But the defense, they had to get in on the fun, right back up the middle, a ground ball to Aaron Savory to turn the double play to get that out right there. And then back to the offense, Ben Wilmus sends fans home early, a grand slam to solidify the run rule. Iowa winning like a softball game, 13-2 in 7 innings, their best start to Big Ten play since 1990.
Well, let's keep up that offense that rolled into Sunday's action. They're already on the board 1-0, and Andy Nelson had to pour on a little bit more with a 2-run home run, making it 3-0. There was a home run earlier in the 6th inning, and then Gable Mitchell, a 3-run home run to make it 10-0 and end this one again in run rule fashion as Iowa completed the sweep.
And on the other diamond, Game 1 against the Spartans. Top of the 3rd, Desiree Rivera pounds one to the wall, just missing out on a jog around the bases by inches, but gets the go-ahead double, getting things started for the Hawks. And then top of the 4th, Hannah Lindsay going way back and way over for a 2-run homer, her 5th of the season, putting Iowa up 3-1 the final score.
Well, then in Game 2, things weren't as fun for Iowa. Talia Trenton had an RBI single there to tie the game at 1-1. They brought in that runner from second base, and then defense still doing great as Avery Jackson, the 3rd baseman, crashes in, and Chernsu gets it in the air and picks off the runner off first. But Iowa still falling behind. They did get another run here, getting the lead at one point, but would still lose in Game 2.
And the final game of the series, starting action right off the bat, quite literally, Talia Trenton, bases loaded, the freshman unleashes on this ball for a grand slam, adding 4 more runs to their lead, putting Iowa up 5-0. And then Jenna Young following suit in the next inning from way downtown, her 3rd home run of the season, adding another point to Iowa's lead. It is a home run frenzy in this series finale between the Hawks and Spartans, and Iowa takes the overall series 2-1. Well, Colin, a lot going on in the Diamond Sports.
I know, it just seemed like all of that was almost a softball game, like you mentioned. A lot of seven-inning competitions over the weekend.
Well, we'll see how they're doing in the standings, and I'm actually going to head over to Joel Keller live in our studio to tell us more.
Thank you, Elise. And the Hawkeyes making some noise in the Big Ten in baseball. We see them still at the top. No one really expected this coming into the year, but here they are, 2.5 games ahead of UCLA. And Indiana, who just got swept by Iowa, dropping down to 9, getting closer to that border of missing the Big Ten tournament. But for softball, Iowa's looking really good. They're finally getting up into near the top where they might be able to play for a bye coming up in the next couple of weeks if they can string together a couple of wins, maybe get a series sweep, and they'd be looking good.
Well, thank you, Joel. That is all we need to know for the Big Ten standings. But now back to the spring sports. We're going to head back to the front over here with Mr. Colin Carruthers and see what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, it's already cool because the fall sports, I mean, they're so far away, but they already have to be putting in so much work at this point to be ready for when we see them in the fall. But here in Iowa City, the football team is recapturing headlines as they held their spring practice over the weekend.
DITV's Ryan Paris was there with what Hawkeye fans can look forward to next season.
I'm here at Kinnick Stadium where the spring football practice gives Hawkeye fans a look at the future in the middle of a long off-season.
The Iowa football team has weathered plenty of change since the end of last season. This includes the departure of many defensive starters, a remade QB room, and action in the transfer portal, creating plenty of spots on the roster for new stars to emerge.
And then just making plays at the end of the day is what's really going to separate us this coming fall. Just being a dynamic group across the board from the first guy to the last guy.
Before the practice officially began, players got to work with position-focused warm-ups on the field. And once things got up and running, the offense worked on routes and plays while the defense ran one-on-ones. Eventually, the two sides of the ball met to run through game situations, giving fans a chance to see what the new faces could do in realistic scenarios.
You really grow close to those guys because it's hard, it's a grind. And to go through that with guys, I think that's when you grow more as, a leader, a teammate, all these things.
While the Hawkeyes struggled during the 2-minute drills, there were plenty of moments to get excited about. Auburn transfer quarterback Hank Brown showed off his mobility and arm talent, scoring multiple touchdowns for the Hawks on the day. But there's still a long way to go until August 30th when the Hawks open the season against Albany.
And as we stand here right now, you can ask about starters and all that, but there are going to be a lot of things that are going to be decided, I think, in August and then maybe even into the season, which is not a bad thing.
At the spring practice, the Hawkeyes tried out numerous different looks on both offense and defense as they try to make the jump in the right direction. From Kinnick Stadium, Ryan Paris, DITV.
Well, I don't know about you, Elise, but I'm really excited to see all those new guys coming in with the Iowa program.
Yeah, Colin, not just the new guys that are going places, but we got some guys going pro to the NFL, and that's why we're going to toss it to Cole Krieger in the newsroom.
That's right, guys. The Hawkeyes saw a flurry of action this weekend. In the 3 days of the NFL draft, 5 Hawkeyes were selected. Running back Caleb Johnson was the first and only Hawkeye to be selected on day 2, going 83rd overall to the Pittsburgh Steelers, where he'll compete for the starting spot with Jalen Warren. The Steelers tapped into the Hawkeye pool once again on day 3, taking defensive tackle Y.A. Black in the 5th round. In the 7th round, Hawks began to fly off the board. Offensive lineman Mason Richmond went to the Seahawks with the 234th pick before fellow lineman Connor Colby went at 249 to the 49ers. To round things out, tight end Luke Lachey was drafted at pick 255 to the Texans, just 3 picks before the end of the NFL draft. A couple of Hawks that slipped out of the draft will find their way onto NFL rosters as well. Linebacker Jay Higgins signed with the Baltimore Ravens, and lawn snapper Luke Elkin joins former Hawkeyes Torrey Taylor in the Bears special teams room. Defensive back Jamari Harris signed with the Tennessee Titans, and the Pittsburgh Steelers added yet another Hawkeye with Sebastian Castro. Linebacker Nick Jackson accepted a camp invite to the New York Giants as well. More Hawkeyes are expected to sign within the coming days, but for now, I'll send it back to Colin and Elise in the studio.
Well, thanks, Cole, but Elise, I have to say, as a Bengals fan myself, I'm not too happy with the Steelers adding 3 Hawkeye prospects.
Yeah, Colin, as a Dolphins fan, we didn't really have a great draft overall, but fins up, baby. That's all you can do.
Well, maybe some C grades there, but what was A grade? This past weekend's top 5 plays from In the Zone. And we'll start with number 5. Let's go ahead and look at that spring open practice. This wide receiver, Dayton Howard, getting over the defender there and towing the sideline. I would say that's a moss over his guy in the spring practice.
And number 4, Iowa baseball versus Indiana, game 1. Grounder to first baseman Blake Guerin. It is a foot race to the bag, but Guerin beats him out, laying out for that play. We'll take a look at it one more time here in a second. Look at him go, the big guy taking it himself for the out, keeping the score 1-0, Indiana in the lead.
Well, now at number 3, Iowa softball in game 3 against the Michigan State Spartans. This one, a blast to deep left field and off the foul pole. A grand slam for the freshman standout Talia Tritton, and would help Iowa win 6-4 in this contest.
And number 2, again, Iowa baseball versus Indiana. This time it's Ben Wilmus going yard for a grand slam, his 6th homer of the season. Again, another softball game ending in 7 innings. Iowa wins 13-2.
Well, let's rewind one more game. Back to game 1 between Iowa and Indiana for our number 1 play on In the Zone. It's Blake Guerin again, squaring around for the sacrifice in extra innings and bring the runner home from third. Iowa winning in a walk-off fashion. The big guy throws it out on the right side, and Iowa won game 1 of the series. Well, some really cool stuff there, but you know what else was going on this weekend? Iowa competed in the Drake Relays this weekend, where the women won the Drake Relays Cup. And it was just the 2nd time in program history the squad was able to return to Iowa City with such an award.
Yeah, this came in huge. Part to first place finishes in the women's sprint medley, the women's 4x400 meter relay.
Iowa men's golf was in Maryland for the Big Ten Championships, where they attempted to salvage a tough performance after finishing in last place after round 1 and 2, and would move up to 14th after round 3.
They shot 13 over par yesterday, which was the 4th best score of the day. The Hawks were also led by Max Chow, who shot 1 over par.
Well, then 3 members of the Iowa women's wrestling team also placed in first this past weekend in 2025 U.S. Open. Brianna Gonzalez, as well as national champions Kennedy Blades and Kylie Welker, all won their respective weight classes.
And with that, each of them now have secured an appearance in Final X, a U.S. wrestling event where they will compete for a spot on the national wrestling team.
Well, thank you for tuning in here to DITV Sports in the Zone. For Joel Keller, I'm Colin Carruthers.
And for Cole Krieger, I'm Elise Gann. We'll be back next week, but until then, stay in the zone.